All right, everyone, we should be live, and I look a little bit on the fuzzy side at the moment. Let's see if that improves. Yeah, much better. We'll make sure we're live on Rumble as well, but chat is moving, so I don't think there's a problem. Got to make sure it's muted, though. Clank mofos, says Mike the Wop. Clank to you as well, my good sir. Lots to talk about today. The Trump trial, of course, has resumed. They're currently going through their closing statements. The defense goes, and then the plaintiffs. That's docketed for today. There'll be jury instructions and shit. You're not going to get a verdict today, though. That's not going to happen. We're looking at possibly tomorrow. So tomorrow might be a really, really big red letter day for all of us content creators because, I mean, it could happen at any time. And if it happens at an opportune time, I will go live with an extra stream. In fact, I'd probably be around now, actually, if it comes in tomorrow. So we could have a really cool day tomorrow. I've got a poll still. In fact, let me pop that into chat really quickly. Where's me poll gone? Let me grab that really quick. Where are you? Yeah, there's the straw poll. I'm popping this in chat on both platforms. And so you can take that link and vote in the straw poll if you'd like. What are your expectations for the Trump hush money trial? Ooh, hush money. Trying to silence the fact that he did exactly what everyone knew he was doing anyway the whole time. Tigers are my totem, sent $5. No comment. Thank you as well. We'll be talking about Israel, though, first. Israeli tanks roll into central Rafah. I believe that this was a red line discussed explicitly by the Biden administration. We'll see if he can take time off from grandstanding in front of the Trump trial to actually address this. Israeli tanks were spotted in Rafah days after an internationally condemned strike killed 2 Hamas leaders and, unfortunately, dozens of Palestinian citizens. That was a bad one. They apologized and said it was an accident. Whoops. Oopsie poopsie. I did a bad thing. Please don't look too much further into it. That was basically their response. We've got the zombie Trump effect. Decoding the polls gives us a clue into Joe Biden's problems. For some reason, I feel like I'm missing a link here. Just a second here. Dreyfus vision. Oh, yeah, there's no link for the Niro thing. If you're, we'll be talking about the Trump trial as well. In fact, let me put this on really quick. What did I boot from the docket then? I always take something out if there's too much. Just a sec. Not technical difficulties, but slight confusion. Oh, actually, yeah, we booted. Or did we boot that, actually? We got Dreyfus. We've got Bill Maher. We've got the crazy California dude who ran around shooting people with a slingshot for an entire decade and finally got caught. And then Jack Posobiec. I like him. I like his content. I think I follow him on Twitter. He used to follow me, but he's wrong on ketchup. Which one did we punt? Oh, yeah, the zombie Trump effect article. I was going to put that actually on for tomorrow. So let me grab that really quickly. You're seeing my work in progress. I don't ever use notes when I'm speaking because it just distracts me. But I do have all my tags and stuff off to the side. We'll put that in there. Salon's crazy PDS article. Preliminary title, I suppose. Anyways, yes, we'll be covering all of that and much, much more because there's an awful lot to cover. We will talk about the Trump trial. And, of course, that's going on live as we speak. Mina Bukowski just saying hi. Hello. Hi, Ubuk. Yeah, Ubuk's always there. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you as well. M, Trump should reach out to the DNC to speak at their convention and request the Democrat nomination. That would be funny. I mean, he'd probably get it over Biden. The Great Awakening, just fuck Joe Biden. Thanks for everything you do. I thank you very much for sponsoring the show. What do fuck? Please remind those viewers living in Texas 23rd Congressional District that Brandon Herrera's special election is today. Yes, if you are in Texas and in that district, please do vote for Brandon Herrera. You know, let's go Brandon, but only in an actual way. The Hazmat 221. Always funny when I get the 802 references. I was a cadet at Norwich University. I've seen at the campus. And worked for Barry PD and Berlin Fire. Have you ever dealt with Norwich kids at UVM? Miss Vermont, but despise the Middlebury types. No, I never really have a problem with anyone, actually. You know, Vermonters are a different breed from a lot of people. you've never come to Vermont and gone beyond the wandered path that the tourists take, you wouldn't understand. It's a special state, overrun by people who aren't from the state, unfortunately, at this point. First news story, though, this is a fairly important one, and it's being covered up in the news cycle in the wake of the strike the other day because of the Trump trial, at least for U.S. media. Israeli tanks are now in Rafah. This was the red line that was explicitly mentioned by Joe Biden. He said, do not go into Rafah, right? Him, Blinken, the others. Don't go in, leave Rafah alone because it can cause a humanitarian crisis. The Israelis entered Rafah, but then they only took over the border outpost where there was a shootout the other day with an Egyptian soldier. That's apparently that was a mistake of some sort, an actual mistake. Dropping a bomb that injures hundreds of people, a little bit different from a border skirmish. But they went in and they took over the Palestinian side of the crossing. This was already bad enough because it violates the Camp David Accords from the late 1970s. But Biden said, well, this doesn't really violate our agreements or anything like that. This isn't the red line I meant. I know that I told you not to go into Rafah, and I know that you're in Rafah, but it's just a limited incursion. All you did is take over a couple of border outposts in the surrounding area. So, I'm not going to do anything. And then he withheld aid for a short period of time to try to appease the left-wing protesters in the U.S., and it didn't go over so well. The problem continued to metastasize. Now they're in Rafah at large. Joe Biden objectively stated that that would be a red line. If they entered Rafah, then we would freeze out all the aid and we would be done with the situation and say, we can't support this anymore. It's impossible for us logistically or ethically to do so. I am very much wondering if Joe Biden is going to be questioned about this by the legacy media. Well, I'm not really wondering. I know the answer. He'll be questioned by Peter Doocy, and that's about it. And there's a reason why Donald Trump will talk to Tim Pool of the quartering, and Joe Biden never shows up. They don't want gotcha questions. Trump can actually answer them. Joe Biden can't. I'm very interested to see what the response will be. I suspect that the response will be half-assed as usual, and Biden will ignore his own red line, much like Obama did in Syria and elsewhere, and say, don't you do that, and then it's done. And then you pull the punch, and your response is just really weak and watered down. Again, people in that part of the world don't respect that kind of non-leadership. They respect you following through with what you say. Even if it's politically inconvenient for you, if you follow through, you gain the respect to generally gain latitude for further negotiations. Biden doesn't understand this. Biden barely understands, the customs and norms of Canada or maybe France or something. He certainly doesn't understand the American way. I think we know that. Mitchie Cool, what do you think happens if Biden dies after the convention but before the election? Unlikely scenario. I'm not sure what would happen. Probably political chaos. But again, in a moment, we're going to talk about the Trump trial. We've got political chaos on our plate right now, inevitably. It does not matter what happens in this court case. Much like with Joe Biden, I suspect that there will be a lot of protests at the Democratic National Convention. The legacy media is going to have to wagon circle for him and explain why supposedly the Republicans are falling apart, fractious and divisive, but their convention, other than a few pink hat wearers, will go off probably without a hitch. You're not going to see a last-minute move by Haley. She's already said she'll vote for Trump. You're not going to see a significant uniparty cock-blocking of Trump. Behind the scenes, they'll be trying to do it ideologically, but they won't do it, on the surface. They'll try to keep that one hidden. Trump knows this, by the way. He's prepared for it, I think, this time around. And the problem is for the Democrats, there's probably going to be 10 times as many protesters there, and they really don't want a repeat of 1968 now, do they? But they might get it. And so there's going to be probably some fucking problems there. Doesn't matter. Biden being the nominee or bouncing the nomination, you're still going to get chaos. In fact, with a lot of the things going on right now politically, it's almost like the outcome doesn't matter because all signs point to problems. King Earwig, your garden vids inspire me. Have you tried bringing the peppers in for the winter and replanting in spring? No, I get so many peppers per plant that it's superfluous. They're doing really, really well. Can't wait for the next garden update. I've got to do a lot of work after this live stream. I got several things I got to do today. I haven't showered in a couple of days. And I garden and I get all sweaty and dirty and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a dude, so I just don't give a fuck. but I should probably, wash my body at some point. And I'll probably do that after gardening, though, because then you just get dirty again. Personally, I like the smell of compost and things like that. I don't understand the problem. Now we'll go to the Trump trial. Right now, you've got live updates coming in from any legacy media sites, and depending on whether it's MSNBC or Fox, you're going to get a totally different reading on it. My thing is that I'm interested in what the outcome will be. Today, you're not going to get an outcome. There will be no verdict today. There's a virtual 100% chance of that. They'll convene tomorrow. The jury will be sequestered. They'll go and they'll talk. Tomorrow or possibly Thursday, I think, is when you're going to get the verdict. And there are 5 possibilities. Now, some people have talked about a 6th possibility, which is that there could be a directed judgment by the judge himself. This was brought up earlier by the legacy media, a directed verdict. This will not happen because a directed verdict would mean that the plaintiffs, which in this case, the prosecution in the case, that their evidence is so scant and so sketchy that you don't even bother going before a jury trial because you know that the outcome is what the outcome will be. So you don't want to burden the jury with having to go there and pretend to be debating when everything is self-evident. But a directed verdict would not be, hey, there's no need for a jury trial. Donald Trump is self-evidently guilty. That's not going to happen. So I didn't bother considering that one. Here are the 5 possibilities. And you can weigh in the comments. You can use that poll. Again, I linked it in chat on both platforms, not over on Twitter, but I posted it the other day so you can find the link. There are 5 possibilities as to what happens. And every single one of them means fireworks. It means chaos. And it means a good time for those of us who analyze politics for a living. It's sort of like the presidential debates, even if it's a bore fest. At least you have something to laugh about, right? And a lot of people will tune in because it's fucking hilarious. Here are the 5 possibilities. Number 1, Donald Trump is found guilty on all of the charges against him. Number 2, he is exonerated on all of the charges against him. Number 3, he is symbolically slapped with 1 or 2 charges, some number, but not all of them. Number 4, the jury is hung and Alvin Bragg says, you know what, I'm not going to bother pursuing it further, drops the case. Number 5, the jury is hung and he does pursue it. I think that a hung jury with Alvin Bragg deciding not to pursue the case is the most likely outcome. And I agree with some people in that poll. It seems like a lot of people think that they'll slap him with 1 judgment and exonerate him on the rest. The reason I think that's less likely is for one reason. The problem is that all of the different charges correspond to the same basic kind of activity. So if you find him guilty of business fraud on 1 charge, then all of the other payments, because they were similar, because the testimony is they were all linked together, would you not also have to find him guilty on all of those? It kind of is an all or nothing thing. What's not all or nothing is the jury composition. All you need is 1 person on the jury to disagree with the verdict that everyone else wants to hang the jury. If you do get a hung jury and you don't know exactly how many people were holdouts on guilt, as a prosecutor, the general notion is it's probably not necessarily the greatest idea to go ahead and retry the case because, if it can happen once, it can happen again. It could be that 11 people want to acquit and only 1 person wants a guilty verdict on 1 or more charges. You could also have a scatter shot, they agree on 1 charge, but not the rest. That's very unlikely, though, because the charges are already linked. They all correspond to exactly the same thing. I would point out that the entire premise of this case is under a legal theory that has no precedent, by the way. Never before has this kind of charge been brought against anyone. The fact that it's Big Don, who happens to be running for the presidency, is totally coincidental, by the way. I think the most likely is that the jury cannot come to a conclusion, which means probably Thursday rather than Wednesday, you get the verdict. And that Alvin Bragg, he ruminates for a while and says he probably wants to pursue it. But is that wise? Is it likely that he'll prevail? Alvin Bragg's career kind of hinges on this. If he thinks there's a chance to nail Trump because he's a libtoid, he'll go for it. But if he thinks that there's no possibility that he can convene a jury that's not going to end up hung again, and he just hangs it up 2 or 3 times in a row, that's humiliating for him, and he probably would like to avoid doing so. Sparky, how do we know Israel's not the 51st state? Because if there were 51st state, they'd only control 2 senators. Good joke, actually. I haven't heard that one before. Congratulations. Sparky, Newsom and Kushner, 24. Ugh. Dutch Schaefer, hey Sticks, what's your take on Alan Lichtman's prediction on the election? He's jumping the gun. That's my take on it. Yeah, he thinks that Biden will win re-election. I'm like, I'm not so sure that that's likely to happen. Just saying. Incumbent advantage kind of goes in both ways anyway. And here's the thing. Lichtman has a reason to say that Biden will win because he can always fudge his keys, the 13 keys to the White House. If he predicts that Biden wins and Biden does not win, so Trump wins, he can say, oh, well, I had never had to fix before for an incumbent versus a quasi-incumbent. It's very wise on Lichtman's part. He's being wiggly on this. You can tell. Lichtman probably wants Biden to win. I mean, he seems more on the liberal side of politics, although not solidly. He's definitely not a leftoid. Let's see here. Oh, I closed out my tabs. See, I keep having problems here logistically. We got to talk about our merch partners, actually. We have pumpkinfirecrafts.us. You can get bookmarks, you can get keychains, belt chains, amulets, engraved spoons, and more. Not just Sticks material, you can also get other material as well. Use code STICKS, by the way, if you use their site for a discount. Same on BillTongUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com. Apparently, he's looking into getting kangaroo meat for his biltong. I demand kangaroo. I think that would be delicious. If he makes alligator biltong, that would really fit the bill. You can get delicious meat there and other snacks, teas, and everything else under the sun. And also mugs, tumblers, and shirts available with your own favorite Sticks, X, and Hammers logo on them. We have Wicked Needle Embroidery.bigcartel.com. Of course, the land of Sticks, X, and Hammer hats, engraved with the Ouroboros, either offsides or in the center with the username. So if you want to be flashing a cool hat and everyone could use one, you can get those there. Heritage Heirloom Seed Company.com, land of the seed survival bucket. Of course, many of the seeds in the garden that everyone admires, those are from Heritage Heirloom, and generally speaking, they did very well. So good quality. I can vouch for it personally. It's actually in the garden. This matters to me, by the way. Also, the Sticks, X, and Hammer soap box. We've got the, of course, the clove, cedar, and blueberry mix. That's for the Sticks, Hexen soap that I'll be cleaning off with later. You wonder how I smell? Yeah, usually like that or like the garden. So it's all good. Webster'sWares.com/Sticks-Wares. Use code STICKS on their site as well. And you can get Sticks, X, and Hammer merchandise. We've got knives, which are pretty fucking sharp, metal straws, and all sorts of other paraphernalia. It's a plethora. It's an eclectic store, and also non-Sticks related stuff. They get a bunch of Trump merch. They've got some survival stuff, like these little guys. You fill them with lighter fluid, and it's like basically a survival match, and so it's a fire starter. And I always thought that would be cool to have one. They sent me 4 of them, so I felt happy about that. MTPew, that's MTPEW.com, home of Bearded Grizzly ammunition. They have range brass, and they have newly manufactured in various rifle and pistol calibers. All the common ones, 9mm, 45, 40 Smith & Wesson, 223, 556, all available. And finally, BrickMuseum.com over in Bellaire, Ohio. Yes, it is a Lego museum, which I still, again, do intend to visit. They're open through August, actually. They're open now. And they get all sorts of cool stuff there. I mean, they get a shit ton of pictures on their site. They get the Facebook page and everything. Take a look at it. And if you're if you're a millennial kid, you probably liked Legos when you were growing up. Well, I just want to go there and play around. I think that would be a real fun time. So make sure to tell them that you're a clanker and that Sticks sent you. They'll show you cool Legos. You know, everyone likes hobbies, and Legos are definitely one of them. Wish I still had my Lego collection. Andrus Berzins, please do more vids from the garden and the creek. Yeah, I'd like to do more like nature stuff. I want to do like sort of how-to videos, like here's how to make the actual biochar. Here's how you hugelculture. Because apparently leftoids don't understand gardening at all. So, I mean, they're going to starve to death, which is a communist tradition. So somebody's got to tell them how to actually grow something other than arugula. It's a big problem. Just a sec here. Oh, yeah. We got to talk about Richard Dreyfuss. You may know him from Jaws, by the way. He was Matt Hooper, the scientist with the big glasses. You know, the one that was a little bit nerdy, but then got the idea of blowing up the shark. And I'm giving spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the original Jaws, watch that first. Maybe mute me for the next few minutes or something like that. But because it is a good movie, admittedly. I've watched it probably 100 times. But Dreyfuss played Matt Hooper in that movie. That's his most famous role. But he's been in acting, since then, obviously, as well. Good actor. Seems like a fun dude. This is a very strange story here. And unfortunately, we don't have a transcript or recording of this incident. And so I'm thinking that they have Richard Dreyfuss derangement syndrome and that he actually didn't do anything wrong. I'll just read through this a little bit. Let me find the exact spot where I should start off on this, because I mean, Jesus Christ, it's crazy. Let's see. Yeah, appearing at the Cabot Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts on the 25th of May, Dreyfuss took to the stage in a house dress to a background track of Taylor Swift's Love Story, shaking his hips suggestively and brandishing his walking stick like a baseball bat. He then reportedly took on targets including Barbara Streisand, the parents of trans teenagers, and the Academy's new inclusivity roles. No transcript of the event has been released, but everyone swears up and down that he's a raging bigot. How convenient. Social media posts suggest that he called Streisand a genius, but that he didn't want to listen to her as she was a woman, and women shouldn't have that power. I get the feeling, based on what I'm reading here, that this was effectively a giant joke, that he was having a good time and trying to effectively do a little bit of parodical comedy. He was trying to be edgy. And it sounds like, God, I would have been laughing my ass off probably if he's going to say something like that. Deadline reports said he also said, "You shouldn't be listening to some 10-year-old who says they want to be a boy instead of a girl." The Boston Globe reports that he continued by saying that allowing such young people to transition was bad parenting. Someday those kids might change their minds. I do not understand how this could be considered bigoted, because we've got examples of this exact situation happening. That doesn't seem to have been part of his possible comedy routine here. By the way, I think he's the only major actor from Jaws still alive, other than like people who played bit roles as kids or something like that. And I know Quint died. He was a massive alcoholic, I think, and he died in the 1980s or 90s or something. And there's actually a curse involved with some of the actors and actresses from not just Jaws, but several other movies. Interesting topic. I should research more into it, do a deep dive, and I'll do a video on the subject. Citing the Cabot's Facebook page, one attendant said, "We walked out of his interview tonight along with 100 of others because of his racist, homophobic, misogynistic rant." I think he was joking with regards to Streisand. That seems to be what I'm reading here. And there's nothing homophobic or racist about saying that 10-year-olds should be precluded from behaviors that will be life-changing because 10-year-olds make bad decisions. How exactly, arguing devil's advocate here, how would it be different from saying, well, 10-year-olds should be able to consent to fucking adults? What's the difference? Well, I mean, it involves the genitals. It involves a 10-year-old. It involves adults making permanent decisions about their health and their physical, their physicality. How's it different? I don't see any. I think that they're the same thing. So I oppose both, obviously. I think most rational people do. Why do I feel that there were a couple of pink-haired theater goers? They said, "Oh, what a wonderful time. It's going to be a night out on the town. We're going to go to the theater and do like the hipster NPR thing." And then they pretended that they were pissed off. I think that's what happened here. Rick Rod 95. You think early Christianity was a precursor to communism? Lefties proclaim so when arguing in favor of socialistic policies, but this tells me both Christianity and communism should be avoided. Jesus appears to have had a communalism in mind, but communism is, of course, never actually stateless. He seems to have wanted to render under Caesar that which was Caesar's. And so, no, I don't believe that Jesus Christ would have been a fan of Mao Zedong. Roy Atkinson, when things go wrong, sticks, clankers, and Amish will rule the world. Yeah, the people that know how to survive, we have a huge ingrained advantage. Sparky, we had a large family, so couldn't afford to see Jaws when it came out, but felt like big shots when we had the whole public beach to ourselves as if we owned it. Yeah, my mom tells stories about that actually when she was scared of Jaws too. A lot of people were fucking terrified to go in the ocean. And so for a few years they had to launch tourism campaigns to convince people, dude, this doesn't really happen. No, there's no 30-foot shark right off the water. Can you imagine people's kids? They saw the movie, and they probably shouldn't have at the time. There were some gory scenes, like when the dude's rotting head comes out of the side of the boat. Yeah, that was quite interesting. Fucking love that movie. But it's definitely not for little kids. It could terrify them. No, mommy, I don't want to go to the beach. Jaws will get me. And then, of course, then they have to go to like the fun park or something like, or the swimming pool. Or then the kid gets afraid of all water and they think that the bathtub's going to have Jaws in it or something like that. Crossover Maniac, the sci-fi TV series Babylon 5 allegedly has the same death curse as Jaws and Poltergeist. Interesting. I haven't heard about a Babylon 5 curse. I liked that series when I was younger. So yeah, I'm Team Dreyfus on this one because, I mean, I do not believe that he was attempting to even necessarily offend anyone outside of a comedic sense. And I don't even have a transcript to go on. Why are you crucifying the dude when all I have to go on is that a few people at the theater show, at the talk that he was giving, happened to be pissed off at him? Well, these days, try going before a crowd of 100 people and talking about anything socio-political and see if you don't have somebody get up and walk out or start heckling you. It's fucking impossible. Doesn't even matter if I get up and before a crowd of people that are core MAGA, I'll still probably end up getting myself booed at some point because I'll say something that disagrees with them. People are you know, thin-skinned and have a fucking problem. I have a feeling that Dreyfus was being more comedic than anything else. He comes out on stage on a dress and starts wiggling his hips around and rambling about trans teens. I have a feeling that there was humor intended with that one. But people don't find it humorous because, I mean, they don't have a sense of humor. Crossover Maniac, Jesus wouldn't have liked capitalism either. Yeah, and then the thing is, I don't care. I like capitalism. Christian Workman, I see Vivek as a snake, but what are the chances of Trump picking a wolf in sheep's clothing as VP? It's possible. I think he has hopefully learned from his past relatively poor hiring decisions. That's the hope, and preferably the expectation. But I don't know. We're not exactly sure. There's a fairly long short list of people. In fact, there really is no short list. When you look at the analysis of it, it's like 10 people long. And all of them are, every single week, they have a flavor of the week person that they all astroturf as though they're inevitable. Right now, it's Elise Stefanik. It has been Vivek Ramaswamy. It's been Tim Scott. It's been Tulsi Gabbard. You know, back in the day, it was Kristi Noem. That was a thing for a while. Then she said that she shot her dog in a gravel pit, and it didn't go over so well. Jaws will not replace us. Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss did nothing wrong. By the way, you have a relatively heavy-hitting actor there. Nobody made a recording of this? I would think that'd be hilarious. Wouldn't you want to fucking put it on YouTube or something? Telling me that nobody has a recording? And if they do, I haven't seen it. Nobody sent it to me, which is rather sad. If you have a Dreyfus recording from this event where he gallivants around on a stage in a dress and says things that piss off people with pink hair, man, would that be funny? That would make it unintentionally 10 times funnier. Now we've got another case, another interesting individual. Bill Maher I find him fascinating for his ability to be simultaneously very right and very wrong at literally the same time, totally simultaneously. Sometimes it's just broken clock mode. So he'll try to warn the liberals, hey, you're doing something that's pissing off 70% of the population, and then they shit can him as though he's right-wing or a Russian agent or something. He's trying to blackpill them by warning them that they're doing something stupid. I find this funny. If anything, while I don't agree with him on many things, he's not a stupid individual. But this time he manages to get it right and wrong at the same time. And it's rare that this happens. Bill Maher, and this is a quote of him, "It's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid." He was talking about specifically younger leftoids and then some of the craptivism that goes on. Well, you're right. Their ideas are stupid, but you've also gotten to be an old fuddy-duddy with outdated views. You got to understand that these things can coexist. Some of your views are stupid too, Bill. In fact, most of them are. You're a liberal. Necessitates that most of your views be wrong. You just believe that they're right. You believe in these things. The fact that you are a broken clock that is right about legalizing weed, and you seem less inclined towards wanting to start World War III than the average liberal, many of them seem to think that's a good idea, does not exonerate you from frequently being wrong. It just means that you're intelligent enough to be capable of not being wrong sometimes, and that doesn't nullify the fact that you have gotten old. How old is Bill Maher? And I don't know. Yeah, let me look this up before I say something totally stupid. What's Bill Maher's age? He's 68 years old. Okay, that's old. Not elderly, but you're definitely old. Okay, so you're about the same age as my dad. I'm 36, just to be clear. Yeah, the kids do have some strange beliefs, and definitely it's become a problem for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party suffers because you have relatively young upstarts in their 40s, early 50s. By congressional standards, that's a spring chicken. I'm sure they get invited to all the orgies, AOC and all these others. Can you imagine that? Get AOC and Luna, making out or something like that. That would go viral. That'd be hilarious for all the wrong fucking reasons. You have the relatively new upstart crop of people that came in from the very, very far left. So not kind of left like Maher, but the extreme far left, the communists of the party. And they're all running for local and state and district sort of positions. But they drag the federal level party down because those don't extrapolate well to a national platform. You've had some problems in the GOP with the same thing. When the Tea Party came around, it alienated the Republican Party because they tended to be much more religious and staunchly conservative. It alienated the Republican Party from suburban districts, especially, which are more hesitant to engage in that kind of politicking. They cleaned up their problem and went full MAGA populist at this point. The Democrats retained that basic problem. Maher is fundamentally correct about this. But simply saying, well, no, but I've got wisdom and maturity, so my ideas are superior to yours, it depends. And I think that Maher, if he sat down with a leftoid, he would agree more often than not in principle on many things. The only difference is that he's intelligent enough to understand strategy. So it's more intelligent to have a really out there view, but not talk about it if you're running for a national election, than to crow it from the rooftops. Local election, state level, congressional district, makes sense to talk about it. But then you're dragging down the party. And Bill Maher is fairly partisan as an individual. He's a diehard liberal. I can't see him supporting a Republican platform, generally speaking, because it's just who he is. But these things are not mutually exclusive. It is possible for the kids to have weird ideas and for the old fogey to have weird ideas at the same time. This is certainly the case with regards to Maher. Sparky, Robert Shaw died suddenly of a heart attack in the late 70s, perhaps alcoholic, but no more than other big actors from Ireland and the UK. Ostensibly, he was a physically intimidating picture of health. Yeah. Crossover maniac. You would think an all-knowing being like God or the Son of God would know how effective capitalism would be to alleviate poverty. Jesus had no problem with hard work. He was a carpenter. He did have a problem with people that simply manipulated currency, ended up in bureaucratic positions, lent out things at high interest, and then did nothing of themselves. He had a problem with them, with the money changers. He's like, the Roman bureaucracy is great compared to the bureaucracy I have to deal with locally. Fuck that shit. The number 6, R.E. Jaws. Not much of a curse, just people dying of old age. Pumpkin Fire Crafts. Good morning, all. Thanks to the clankers who have emailed me with ideas. I'm looking into all of them. I do make most everything myself, so please be patient. 10% off anything on the site using code STICKS. Always use code STICKS when you are prompted. BW, I can't help but think there is no way he isn't found guilty, but how long will the appeals go through? And will it have to get to the Supreme Court, making them look like they are working for Trump? That'd be such a lengthy process, he'd end up either being elected or not elected by then, but if he's found guilty, he will appeal. Now, that's inevitable. He's not actually going to be dragged off immediately to the jail cell in cuffs like all the liberals imagine in their wet dreams. BW, it takes a powerful amount of delusion, denial, and money to keep yourself feeling as good as people to still think of yourself as the pot-smoking college kid at 60 plus. Yeah, I mean, some people age at different rates, and some people get lame, and some people remain cool. I like to think I'm remaining cool in my old age. And I mean, he smokes weed and, you know, he's got marginal intelligence strategically. But that doesn't mean that the young people, he's like, yeah, he's going to start dabbing or something like that. That'd be funny. Oh, this is a good one. I like stories like this. We've got California man. It's not Florida man this time. When I first, saw the tagline, and it didn't actually say California on the tagline for the Ground News article, I figured it was going to be Florida man, but it's not. Man, 81, dubbed serial slingshot shooter, is arrested in California. The suspect had been victimizing neighbors for the last decade, police alleged. Somehow they never did anything about it before. Azusa police said they responded to a quality of life issue in the 900 block of North Enid Avenue and learned that over the last 9 to 10 years, dozens of citizens were being victimized by a serial slingshot shooter. The man broke windows and windshields with his weapon and at times almost hit people, police said. Inmate records indicate that the suspect, Prince King, is 81 years old. There's no picture of Prince King on this article. I'll leave you to wonder why. Police didn't list an attorney who would comment on his behalf. Police served a search warrant at the neighborhood where the slingshot attacks were happening Thursday and ultimately arrested King. Police said ball bearings and a slingshot were found at his home. So, I mean, this is like the pint-sized slasher or something like that. This dude's been doing this for a decade and nobody ever got caught. I would think it'd be kind of obvious. You know, people tend to have cameras and shit around these days. Police Lieutenant Jake Bushy told the San Gabriel Valley Tribune that police began investigating after the first slingshot incident, but hadn't been able to pin down a suspect until now. Bushy said Saturday he wasn't sure how King was ultimately identified, but the detectives learned most of the ball bearings were coming from King's backyard or a nearby neighborhood. Police haven't identified a motive, other than fucking nuts, other than just malicious mischief, Bushy said, according to the Tribune. Bushy added the shots weren't random, although he didn't know why certain people or properties were targets, the newspaper reported. Well, probably had a problem with them. So his court date is today, actually, I believe. Today is Tuesday. So, yeah, his court, he's got his day in court. An 81-year-old man, after 10 fucking years, they finally catch him. I would think they could have caught him beforehand since they probably got complaints. You know, once you realize that 5 windshields have been broken in the neighborhood in the last week, normally some sort of action is taken. Apparently not in California. I wish I could say that it was a surprise. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's Meat and Eat. Free shipping for your biltong using code STICKS on www.biltongusa.com and www.antonsusa.com. Try our variety of Carmian functional red teas imported from South Africa. Clank. Also try the elk. I happen to really like it. I can't wait to try the fucking kangaroo. Jesus. Last night I got hungry. I made tacos, right? And I ate one huge loaded taco, and I had a second, but I couldn't eat it. And so it was just sitting here. And by the time that I got hungry again, it was like, I'm not sure that I want to eat it because it's been sitting there. So I cracked open an MRE and had some of that. I didn't eat the chili mac, though. No, I ate the taco crumbles, actually. It's really more like a taco chili than anything else. Pretty good, by the way. And that chili lime sauce that they include, thank you, Harlan Priest, for the chili lime inclusion there. Is one of the best things the U.S. military ever managed to develop. Just the right amount of heat, a little bit of the chili snap, a little bit of the liminess, the sourness, and it goes perfectly well with something. It's kind of on the savory, tomatoey, beany side. I'm imagining it'd be really good in refried beans. I just got to see if I can get a whole crate of them or something like that. Property of the U.S. government, not for commercial sale. It is, you are allowed to sell it individually. It's just you can't stock a store with MREs. And then finally, speaking of food, as I make myself hungry and get ready to wash my body and grow crops, Jack Posobiec is objectively wrong here. I like the dude. I like his commentary. But he's angered the ketchup gods. Jack Posobiec the other day, ketchup is just red mustard. You are incorrect. It's totally different species of plants that go into these things. I will say I do like mustard. Some people, they want to take a team, like I'm team ketchup, I'm team mustard, I'm team relish. I like to mix them all together. Like with the hot dogs, I love those. The best thing to do is get some seeded rye. You get 2 pieces. and you take a couple of the all beef hot dogs. You can use any of them, but those are the best. There's a reason they cost a bit more. You slice them down the middle, boil them, and then you put them on the bread, and you basically make a hot dog sandwich. And I always do it with goat cheese, sweet relish, mustard, and ketchup. By the way, mustard and ketchup are not hegemonic either. There are multiple kinds of them, Jack. You are incorrect. What kind of mustard are you using? Is it Hellman's, the shitty shit? Is it the nice seeded like the Grey Poupon? Is it one of the extra spicy mustards? Because those pack a punch and they can be really good. What about Piccadilly? Basically mustard with relish in it, or chunks of cucumbers, basically. I mean pickles. What about the different kinds of ketchup? You got the low salt ketchup, which sucks, by the way. You've got spicy ketchup now. There was even one, I don't think it's available here, but I saw it in the Netherlands. It was pickle flavored ketchup. So it's sort of like if ketchup was in the Piccadilly instead of using mustard as the base. And I was confused and refused to try it. I'm not interested, but it's interesting that such a potential abomination exists. Even worse, you try it and you actually like it, and then you feel terrible about yourself. You feel dirty inside. But yeah, Jack is officially wrong. Ketchup is one of the greatest things that's ever been invented. Originally, by the way, it was more fish-based. Ketjap is still available, actually, in the Netherlands. I've never seen it available here. It's a little bit different, but it's kind of like just a fish sauce. It's like a salty, briny sauce. And then they had ketchup that's kind of mushroom-based. Townsend's covered that. You sweat the mushrooms off, and then they get processed. I imagine it's probably pretty good. Mushrooms have that kind of earthy flavor, and then you're adding the salt in and mix in a few herbs and spices and a few other things, and you probably get a really, really good sauce. But it ain't ketchup. Everyone understands ketchup, real authentic ketchup, is a slurry of tomatoes with a sweetener and a few other ingredients, and that's what it is. I prefer the Simply version, which uses cane sugar. For a very small extra cost, you won't get, intestinal cancer from downing gulps of corn syrup. And I wish that had existed when I was younger. I don't remember ever seeing it until the last couple of years. Another big thank you to Heritage Heirloom Seed Company, because they're the ones that sent me the Simply. And then I looked it up and I realized, oh shit, it's been in the stores the whole time and I never knew it existed. Why haven't I thought of this before? BW, best mustard is Grey Poison Country Dijon. Great poison. Poupon, stupid autocorrect. I don't know. I don't really eat Grey Poupon. If I want one thing that's really great, here's where mustard gains its advantage, since we're just going to rant about food for a few minutes. Mixing it with honey and making a honey mustard for fried chicken or something like that. That is delicious. That is one thing that mustard surpasses ketchup in. But I would use both that and the ketchup anyway. Like when I make fried chicken, I'll dip it in both. You got your honey mustard, you've got your ketchup. It's great. Also, you can mix ketchup with mayonnaise. The Europeans really love that. Never knew that was a thing until I was already in my 20s. It's pretty good. That's more for French fries, though. I wouldn't do that with like a burger or something like that. Ketchup on its own is already wonderful. John Hoyle, when I want to troll libertarians, I just post, he's not a real libertarian. Then they argue both sides among themselves. Yes, the no true libertarian fallacy thing is a problem for that particular movement. I've seen this in person as a small L, more classically liberal individual. I have watched puristic libertarians claim both sides of an argument more times than I wish to see. By the way, please send no more super chats because at some point here, I made myself hungry and I've got to shower and garden and shit. Sebastian Monroe, I love me Polish kielbasa with kraut, onions, and spicy brown mustard. That is good. Stone ground with little seeds. Consider visiting the Mustard Museum in Wisconsin. That sounds interesting. Food museums, always up my alley. OMG puppies. Coleman's mustard from Britain has a real kick. I recommend it. I want to make my own. There's some mustard plants growing out there. So I kind of want to make my own mustard mix or something, and then put it in jars and, make your own. It'd be a lot cheaper, probably a lot fresher, a lot tastier. Panic at the Bistro. Sticks, do you play guitar? No, I can't play a chord. I'm a guitar builder starting out in Nashville. Would love to make one for you with the Ouroboros. My company name is Forest Guitars. Clank. Sadly, no, I do not play guitar. I can plunk my way around on a keyboard to some extent. I've made some organ processionals, but I've never been able to play guitar, no. MF Damien, can't beat ketchup and a little mayo on bacon cheeseburgers. Loud. Yeah. Got to get lots of pickles on there, too. The real debate is sweet versus dill. I'm team dill myself. And I mean, when I say dill pickle, I mean like the home style ones that are really, 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 really dilly. Or the ones that are like fridge pickles, like you get in deli or something. The ones that don't have a much dilliness to them, but they're still dill. I like the two opposite ends of the dill spectrum. I don't like the standard dill pickles that tend to be made. Harrison Bergeron. Ordered my meat chickens today, but will not get until September. Glad I have a few from last year still. Haha, fried chicken. Hell yeah, shit. BW, I feel like too many lefties have infiltrated libertarians, and some of the libertarians are dumb. No offense, Sticks. Yes, there is no such thing as a left-leaning libertarian. You cannot believe in leftist economics and still believe in maximized personal liberty. It's not possible. You can't even believe in classical liberalism. What you're saying is you're saying that you're endorsing a form of tyranny. That is the stealing of your resources and productivity in order to redisperse them. Now, if you're talking about a stateless system, which can't exist, so it's utopian bullshit, you'd have a system in which people are trying to help one another, as charity and stuff like that, and that'd be fine. You'd have high efficiency. But that's not the way that it works. You end up with a bureaucracy that will take $1 from you and give 80 cents to the other person that actually genuinely needs it while pocketing the difference. Well, that doesn't sound like liberty to me. That sounds like coercion on one end and inefficiency on the other. There is no such thing as a left-leaning libertarian. It is not physically possible. Libertarianism of necessity has to be a right-wing economic system on top. The real struggle is to figure out what size or presence or absence of the state is involved with that largely free market, free trade system. It's sort of like the central premise of libertarianism on the economic sense. Buttersweet pickles are not fit to feed to hogs. Yeah, I don't generally eat sweet pickles. One exception. Dripping sweet pickle juice onto a tuna sandwich is delicious. Anyways, I think that I'm going to go offline here. Oh, I've got one more. Yeah, please send no more super chats. Peter Thiel works with Posobiec. Thiel funds Palantir. Shapiro endorsed Palantir. Palantir is a spy tool for Israel. Yeah. Well, people who have large sums of money and large audiences and stuff tend to rub elbows. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to go offline. I've got all sorts of stuff to do. Like, I weeded the carrots the other day, but the okra is not going to weed itself. And I want to make sure that that grows well because I really want some nice extra spicy chili and shit like that. Rolf, reason there's no real libertarian is because pure libertarianism is anarchy, which is dumb. So libertarians always have to draw a line, but no one draws it in the same place, thus the perpetual tism. Agreed. Yes, indeed. So yeah, I'm going to go offline. I thank you to the over 4,000 people who tuned in. I will be live again tomorrow. I'll be live at any random point if we get like breaking news. The jury has just given the judge a letter to Merchan that they've got a verdict in the Donald Trump hush money case. I'll boot. In fact, I'll probably just tag it up in advance. Give it multiple titles, Trump guilty, Trump not guilty, and everything like that, just to get it out quicker. Creators can do things like that. It's pretty funny. A dripping calc. Yeah, everyone has a dripping calc. Yes, drippy things. Tuna noodle sandwich. What the fuck? Actually, that might work. I'm not going to do it, but somebody else can do that. Tuna noodle casserole on a sandwich with extra ketchup. Yeah, maybe I'll eat that on a live stream. Nobody has to pay me for that one because it's probably delicious. Probably without the pickles in that case. But other than drippy tuna sandwiches and stuff, I've run out of things to talk to here, and I have other things that I must do, like scrub a body, because I probably smell like a sewer at the moment and just don't realize it. That's about all. Peace out.